What did you do? A human just lifted an ancient alien sword. The sun of Nova Prime cast long fiery shadows across the iridescent crystal landscape, painting the alien world in hues of amber and gold. The air was still, but a quiet hum of power seemed to vibrate beneath the surface, as though the land itself was alive waiting. Standing on the edge of a sheer cliff, Lucas Hart, dressed in his signature black stealth suit, surveyed the vast valley before him. His muscular arms were bare against the crisp air, and his piercing gaze scanned the horizon with the calm confidence only a human could possess. He was unmistakably human, a stark contrast to the various alien species populating this recently colonized world. "You're going the wrong way again," a melodic voice broke through his thoughts, laced with amusement. "I swear, humans have the worst sense of direction in the galaxy." Lucas turned to face his guide. Alya, a striking blue-skinned humanoid, stood a few paces behind him. Her dark blue hair cascaded down her back like midnight silk, and her form-fitting black outfit left little to the imagination. Despite the undeniable chemistry between them, they had kept their partnership professional mostly. But that didn't stop Lucas from savoring every moment he spent with her, even if it meant admitting that her teasing was starting to grow on him. "I thought you enjoyed watching me get lost," Lucas grinned, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Gives you more chances to show off that superior knowledge of the terrain." Alya rolled her eyes, a gesture she had picked up from him during their months of traveling together. "The artifact signature is coming from the eastern ridge," she said, her scanner already in hand. "You're heading west, genius." "Maybe I just wanted to admire the view," Lucas said with a sly smile, his gaze lingering on her for just a moment longer than necessary. With a quiet chuckle, Alya turned on her heel, heading in the correct direction. "You humans and your egos," she muttered under her breath, the playful tone still evident in her voice. They had been partners for months now, tracking down pre-civilization artifacts for the Starburn Coalition. Their work had taken them to many worlds, uncovering forgotten relics of a lost galaxy. But something about Nova Prime felt different. The air crackled with energy, and the crystals scattered across the landscape seemed almost too perfect, too sharp, as if this world had been waiting for them. Suddenly, a series of rapid beeps emitted from Alya's scanner, pulling Lucas from his thoughts. She stopped dead in her tracks. "We're close," she said, her voice now tinged with excitement. "The energy signature is unlike anything I've ever seen." They rounded a massive crystal formation, and there it was, jutting from a block of pure black stone that absorbed the light around it, was the Lumina Blade. Its gleaming blade pulsed with an inner glow that seemed to beat like a heartbeat, and strange, ancient symbols ran along its length, shifting in the low light. "Holy!" Lucas breathed, his voice filled with awe. "That's not your average artifact." Alya moved closer, scanning the object, her brow furrowed. "According to the database, this has been here since before the first wave of colonization. Every species that's discovered, it has tried to remove it, even using advanced quantum manipulation technologies. Nothing has worked." Lucas stepped forward, drawn to the sword as if it were calling to him. He studied the way it pulsed, the light growing stronger as he neared it. "Has anyone just tried pulling it out?" he asked, half joking. Alya's laughter echoed off the crystal formations, though it carried a touch of disbelief. "Please tell me you're not serious. The greatest minds in the galaxy have studied this for centuries, and you think you can just walk up and—" Before she could finish, Lucas reached out, wrapping his hand around the hilt. The sword erupted in a brilliant blue light, arcs of energy dancing along its length like miniature lightning bolts. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air hummed with power as the blade responded to his touch. Alya's voice was barely a whisper. What did you do?" Lucas grinned, his eyes reflecting the sword's glow as it pulsed with life. "I haven't done anything yet." And with a fluid motion, the Lumina Blade slid from the stone as though it had been waiting for him all along. As Lucas gripped the hilt of the Lumina Blade, a strange sensation washed over him, an almost magnetic pull, as if a part of him had been waiting for this moment all along. The sword's blue light flickered and pulsed, growing brighter with each passing second, and something deep within Lucas stirred. It wasn't just the sword, it was something connected to him, as if the weapon recognized his very essence. Alya, still in shock, stepped closer, her scanner frantically trying to make sense of the readings, but it was clear that the data didn't match anything she had ever encountered. "This can't be happening," she muttered, her voice tinged with awe and disbelief. "The energy signatures. They're resonating with your biology. It's almost like the sword chooses you." Lucas's mind raced as he stared at the symbols etched into the blade, their meanings just beyond his grasp. He could feel the pulse of the weapon sensing with his heartbeat, as if it were a living entity itself. But the more he studied it, the more he felt a connection to something ancient, something lost to the stars. Images flashed in his mind, massive starships, their hulls gliding through the blackness of space, their crews donning sleek armor, and the symbols from the blade glowing across their chests. Humanity had once commanded the stars, wielding the power of the Lumina Blades to defend the galaxy from cosmic threats. He saw flashes of the past, a long-forgotten empire, rising and falling in the face of unimaginable dangers. An empire that spanned galaxies, that had fought battles with beings from beyond the fabric of reality. "Lucas," Alya's voice broke through the overwhelming visions, pulling him back to the present. "Are you all right? Your eyes, they were glowing like the sword." Lucas blinked, the vision fading, but the images stayed with him, etched into his mind like a memory he could not shake. He looked down at the blade in his hand, the weight of its history settling in. "I think this sword, it's more than just a weapon," he whispered. "It's a key to humanity's forgotten past." Alya's eyes widened with realization. She stepped closer, her voice soft yet filled with urgency. "What are you saying, Lucas? Are you telling me that this blade is connected to some kind of ancient human empire?" He nodded slowly, the weight of the revelation pressing on his shoulders. "Yes, it's not just a relic, it's a symbol. A symbol of humanity's role as the protectors of the galaxy. We were once more than just another species in the universe. We were guardians, and this sword is part of a legacy that's been hidden away for centuries." Alya studied him, her expression thoughtful. "So what now? If this is really part of humanity's lost history, why hasn't anyone else been able to take it?" "I don't know," Lucas said, a sense of purpose beginning to settle within him. "But I think I have a feeling. This sword, it's not just waiting for anyone. It's waiting for someone who understands its power, someone who's ready to unlock it." Before Alya could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles interrupted their moment. The planetary security forces were closing in fast, alerted by the surge of energy caused by Lucas pulling the sword from its stone prison. "We need to move," Alya said, her voice tense. "Now, if they find us with this, we'll be in more trouble than we can handle." Lucas secured the sword at his side, but it wasn't easy. No matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't stay in place. Alya couldn't help but smile at his frustration, but it was a small moment of light in the midst of the rising tension. "Here," she said, stepping forward and adjusting his armor. "This should help." As their eyes met, the air between them seemed to crackle with something unspoken, a connection that went beyond their shared mission. It was the beginning of something neither of them fully understood yet, but the weight of the task ahead would soon bring everything into focus. As they darted through the crystal formations, seeking cover, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, a beginning that would change everything, not just for humanity, but for the galaxy itself. The moment Lucas and Alya darted into the crystalline maze of Nova Prime, the pulsing blue light from the Lumina Blade dimmed as if it were responding to their need for secrecy. The glow flickered, almost reluctant to hide, but it obeyed the unspoken command. They moved quickly, each step guided by the labyrinth of jagged crystal formations that seemed to stretch on forever. Alya led the way, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon as the hum of approaching security vessels filled the air. "We can't keep running forever," she murmured, her voice low but filled with urgency. "The planetary security knows we're here. They'll have backup coming from all directions soon." Lucas kept his grip firm on the sword, feeling its power resonate beneath his fingers, urging him onward. But his mind wasn't just on evading capture. Something had changed within him, something deep and visceral. The visions from earlier were still vivid memories of a time when humanity had stood at the pinnacle of the galaxy, a force to be reckoned with. The more he thought about it, the clearer it became. The Lumina Blade was not just a weapon or a key. It was a call to arms, a signal that the time had come for humanity to return to its rightful place among the stars. They reached a narrow crevice in the stone, and Alya pushed through, her movements fluid and practiced. Lucas followed, his thoughts racing as they scrambled deeper into the landscape. The sounds of pursuit were getting louder, but the strange energy around them seemed to cloak their presence. The crystals hummed softly, as if in tune with the blade's energy, masking their movements. They paused in the shadows of an enormous crystal formation, catching their breath. Lucas leaned against the cool surface, glancing at Alya. Her brow was furrowed, her mind working through the implications of what they had just uncovered. She was no longer the playful guide she had been when they first met. There was a seriousness to her now, an understanding that the stakes had just been raised to an unimaginable level. "We can't hide forever," Alya said, her voice tight with resolve. "We need to find a way off this planet. If the Starburn Coalition finds out about the blade, they'll want it for themselves. It's too dangerous." Lucas nodded in agreement, but the weight of the situation pressed on him. "There's something else, Alya. I don't think the Foundation or the Coalition fully understands what this blade represents. It's not just about power or control. It's about something bigger, something the galaxy has forgotten." Alya looked at him, her blue eyes piercing through the dim light. "What do you mean?" "The Lumina Blade. It's a key to something ancient," Lucas explained, his voice low but filled with determination. "Humanity's role wasn't just to conquer. We were protectors, guardians. I think this blade is calling us back to that mission. But we can't do it alone. We need to unite the galaxy, not just fight for control." Alya's expression softened as she absorbed his words. "So you're saying this blade is meant to bring humanity back as a force of peace?" Lucas nodded. "Exactly. But it's not just about humanity. We need to prove that we can work with other species, not just dominate them. The blade chose me, but it's going to need more than that to fulfill its purpose. It's going to need unity." Before Alya could respond, the sharp sound of approaching footsteps made both of them freeze. Security forces were closing in from the east. The time to talk was over. They needed to move again quickly. "We're not far from my ship," Alya said, already assessing their next move. "If we can make it to the ravine about 2 kilometers east, we can get out of here. I've got a stealth ship hidden there, but we need to be fast." Lucas didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand, and they both took off into the crystal labyrinth once again, dodging patrols as they made their way toward the ravine. The sword pulsed with each step, guiding them, its energy an anchor to keep them on course. Despite the danger closing in around them, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that the blade wasn't just protecting them, it was guiding them to something bigger. As they neared the ravine, the glow of the Lumina Blade dimmed even further, matching the natural interference created by the crystals around them. It was like the planet itself was conspiring to keep them hidden from those who sought to control the blade's power. "We're almost there," Alya said, her voice filled with determination. But before they could reach the ravine, the unmistakable whine of approaching vessels reached their ears. Security forces were getting closer. Lucas felt the pull of the blade once more. It wasn't just a weapon. It was the key to unlocking humanity's forgotten role in the galaxy. And now, with the weight of that knowledge pressing on him, he couldn't help but think, it's time to fight back. As Lucas and Alya sprinted through the jagged crystal formations, their footsteps barely making a sound against the glowing terrain, something deeper was unfolding between them. The urgency of their situation dodging security patrols, the ever-present danger of discovery had forged an unspoken bond between them, something beyond their shared mission. They had been partners before, yes, but now something had changed. The connection felt tangible, almost as if it had always been there, waiting for the right moment to be realized. "We're almost there," Alya said, glancing back over her shoulder, her breath quick and shallow. The stealth ship she spoke of wasn't far, nestled in a ravine about a kilometer away, hidden from the eyes of the planet's security forces. But they couldn't afford to slow down, not now. Lucas nodded, his gaze shifting to the Lumina Blade, still pulsing with energy at his side. The sword wasn't just a relic, it was more like a living thing. The deeper he went into his journey, the more it felt like the blade was communicating with him. Each pulse of light, each vision that flashed through his mind, wasn't just a reminder of humanity's past. It was an invitation to a future where humanity's true role in the galaxy, its destiny as guardians, was realized. And now, with Alya by his side, he knew they were in this together, not just for survival, but for something greater. "Do you ever wonder what the galaxy would be like if humanity was still in charge?" Lucas asked, his voice quiet but filled with wonder. It was a question that had been haunting him ever since the visions from the blade had begun. Alya didn't hesitate in her response. "I think we've always known the answer," she said, her blue eyes catching the faint light from the blade. Humanity's empire wasn't about dominance. It was about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. It was about unity. That's why the blade chose you, because you understand that. "Alya, I'm not sure how to do this," he admitted, his voice cracking slightly with the weight of his newfound purpose. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be the one to bring humanity back to its place as guardians. But I can't ignore what the blade is showing me. We're meant to protect this galaxy. And I can't do it alone." Alya reached out, her hand brushing against his arm. The touch was simple, but it carried a weight that spoke volumes. "You're not alone, Lucas. Not anymore." They reached the ravine, and Alya's ship, a sleek vessel designed for stealth, came into view. It was exactly as she had described, hidden in the shadows of the jagged cliffs, its dark metal exterior blending seamlessly with the landscape. There was a low hum of power coming from the ship, a sound that resonated with the same energy that the Lumina Blade exuded. It was as though the ship, too, was alive, tuned to the same frequency. "We're getting out of here," Alya said, a fierce resolve in her eyes as she made her way to the ship's entrance. "We'll figure out the next move once we're safely in the air. But right now, we need to get off this planet before the entire sector comes down on us." Lucas followed her, but his mind was already elsewhere. The blade's presence had become overwhelming, guiding him, urging him forward. He could feel the weight of humanity's lost legacy pressing on his shoulders. It wasn't just about running anymore. They had uncovered something far bigger than either of them had anticipated. The galaxy was on the brink of something that humanity's ancestors had prepared for long ago. The Lumina Blade wasn't just an artifact. It was the key to awakening something ancient, something powerful. Inside the ship, Alya quickly activated the control panel, the lights on the dashboard flashing to life. The ship hummed as the engines powered up, and the familiar sound of the ion engines filled the cabin. The ship's cloaking device came online, making it virtually invisible to the scanners of the planetary security forces. "We're clear for now," Alya said, glancing at the navigation console. "But we won't be for long. We need to head for the Crimson Sector. There's a safe zone there, and I know the routes to get us through the pirates and the security forces." Lucas settled into the co-pilot's seat beside her, still gripping the Lumina Blade. He knew this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would not be easy. There were forces at play, both in the galaxy and within him, that were pulling him towards something far beyond his comprehension. But one thing was certain. With Alya by his side and the blade in his grasp, he wasn't going to face it alone. As the ship ascended, the landscapes of Nova Prime shrinking below them, Lucas allowed himself a moment of reflection. The galaxy had changed, and so had he. His purpose, once unclear, now seemed more certain with every passing second. The Lumina Blade wasn't just a key to ancient technology, it was the key to humanity's return to its true role in the galaxy. The sword pulsed again, its blue light flickering in time with his heartbeat. Lucas couldn't help but smile, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. He was ready. As the ship surged through the atmosphere of Nova Prime, leaving the planet behind in a blur of distant lights and crystalline peaks, Lucas leaned back in his seat, his mind racing. He could still feel the pull of the Lumina Blade at his side, its energy almost overwhelming, yet perfectly aligned with his heartbeat. The sword had become more than just a tool. It was a part of him now. Its power, its purpose, it was all tied to him, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was guiding him, urging him towards something far beyond the confines of their current escape. Alya sat at the helm, her fingers moving with practiced ease over the controls, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. Despite her cool exterior, Lucas could see the weight of their situation bearing down on her as well. They weren't just running from planetary security anymore. They were running towards something that neither of them fully understood, but both felt in their bones. "How long until we're in the Crimson Sector?" Lucas asked, his voice low but tinged with urgency. The name alone sent a shiver down his spine. The Crimson Sector was known for its dangerous gas clouds, the blood-red nebula that twisted through space like a swirling vortex of death. Pirates ruled the region, their ships cobbled together from scavenged technology, ruthless in their pursuit of anything of value. Alya didn't look up from the console but spoke with certainty. "A couple of hours. We need to stay low and keep the ship's signature masked. If we draw any attention, the pirates will be all over us. And that's not even counting the security forces that could be tailing us." Lucas nodded, his mind drifting back to the visions he had seen after pulling the sword from the stone. The flashes of ancient battles fought in the very nebula they were about to enter. Humanity, wielding weapons like the Lumina Blade, fighting against unimaginable forces. The stars had been different than brighter, filled with a purpose. And yet, somehow, humanity had fallen, leaving the galaxy to fend for itself. But the sword, the blade, was now awakening something inside him, something that connected the past to the present, something that could guide them through the coming darkness. Alya's voice broke into his thoughts. "We're going to need a plan, Lucas. If we can't get through the Crimson Sector without alerting the pirates, then we need a way to avoid them." He met her gaze, the air between them crackling with an unspoken understanding. "I think I have an idea. But we're going to need the blade's help." Alya raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "You're talking about using the blade to fight our way through, aren't you?" Lucas shook his head, his smile faint but knowing. "Not fight. But the blade can do more than just destroy. It can influence the energy around us. I think if we can focus its power, we can use the gas clouds as cover. We won't need to fight our way through, we can simply slip past them without a trace." The idea felt right, like a revelation that had always been there, waiting for him to understand. The sword was not just a weapon, it was a key to manipulating the very fabric of space and energy around them. And now, with the galaxy's most dangerous sector ahead, he had no choice but to trust in the blade's power and in Alya's abilities. "All right," Alya said after a moment of silence, her voice resolute. "If you think it'll work, then I'll follow your lead. But if we get caught—" "We won't," Lucas interrupted, his voice firm with conviction. "We can't afford to be caught. The sword will guide us. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about showing the galaxy that we can be the protectors it needs." Alya nodded, her gaze fixed ahead, the course set for the heart of the Crimson Sector. As the ship sailed deeper into the blood-red clouds of the nebula, Lucas could feel the energy shift. The blade hummed softly at his side, resonating with the volatile energy that surrounded them. The gas clouds outside the viewport swirled like living creatures, their blood-red mist turning in on itself as if sensing their presence. It was a place of danger, a place of chaos, and yet, the blade felt like a calm center in the storm, ready to show them the way through. "Remember," Lucas said, his eyes scanning the swirling chaos outside, "we're not just trying to survive. We're trying to find the truth of humanity's place in this galaxy. The blade will lead us, but we need to trust it." Alya glanced at him, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Always trust the man with the glowing sword, huh?" Lucas chuckled softly, his hand tightening around the hilt of the Lumina Blade. "You know it." As they entered the heart of the Crimson Sector, the clouds began to thicken, and the ship rocked slightly under the strain of the turbulent energy fields. Lucas closed his eyes for a moment, focusing on the pulse of the sword. The power flowed through him, his thoughts. Sensing with the rhythm of the blade, and with a deep breath, he reached out, sending a surge of energy into the ship's systems, focusing the blade's power outward. The ship began to shimmer, its form blending with the surrounding gas clouds. The pirates who ruled this sector would see nothing, no trace of the ship, no sign of their presence. With the Lumina Blade guiding them, they would pass unnoticed, moving through the maelstrom of the nebula as if they were part of it. As the ship sailed deeper into the crimson fog, Lucas felt something stir within him, a deep sense of purpose. The blade wasn't just guiding them through the storm. It was preparing him for something much larger, something that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. But for now, he had to focus. They had to make it through the sector, to survive the coming challenges, and to uncover the truth behind the Lumina Blade. The ship glided through the heart of the Crimson Sector, its cloaking device keeping them invisible amidst the swirling blood-red clouds. Lucas could feel the presence of the Lumina Blade more intensely now than ever before. The ship, Alya, and even the very air around him seemed to respond to the blade's power, an undeniable pulse that carried with it the weight of something ancient and unfathomable. Alya sat at the helm, her fingers dancing over the control panel, guiding the ship deeper into the heart of the storm. "We're almost through," she murmured, her voice tight with anticipation. "Once we're out, we'll be in the safe zone. But that's only the beginning. We need to figure out what's next." Lucas glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "It's not about what's next," he said quietly. "It's about what the blade is telling us. It's not leading us to safety, it's leading us to something greater, something humanity has been waiting for." Alya met his gaze, her brow furrowing in confusion. "What do you mean?" Before Lucas could respond, the ship lurched violently, throwing them both against their seats. The energy in the air thickened, and the Lumina Blade pulsed wildly at his side, as though reacting to something far more dangerous than the turbulence of the gas clouds. "Incoming!" Alya shouted, her hands gripping the controls as alarms blared across the cockpit. Lucas's heart raced. He could feel the energy around them intensifying, a sharp contrast to the blade's calm, guiding presence. He could see it now, something moving in the distance, something ancient and immense, rising from the depths of the Crimson Sector. A tear in the fabric of space opened before them, the void twisting and warping, pulling everything toward it. The energy signature was unlike anything Lucas had ever felt, and as the ship neared the center of the tear, the blade began to hum with an eerie resonance, louder and louder, until it filled the entire cabin. "That's not just a space anomaly," Lucas breathed, his voice barely audible over the noise. "That's something else." Alya's eyes widened in realization. The void entities, they're returning. The massive tear in reality continued to grow, and the darkness beyond it seemed to spill out, infecting the very stars themselves. A low rumble filled the ship as the pull of the tear grew stronger, And Lucas felt the weight of it, the pressure on his chest, the suffocating presence of something far older and more powerful than they had ever imagined. "We can't just sit here and wait for it to swallow us," Alya said, her voice resolute. "We need to stop it." Lucas's grip tightened on the Lumina Blade. He could feel the ancient weapon pulsing in his hand, calling to him, telling him that this was it. This was the moment the galaxy had been waiting for. But it wouldn't be easy. He could feel the full weight of humanity's responsibility pressing down on him. They weren't just facing the cosmic force. They were facing a part of themselves, a forgotten history that had been buried for centuries. Humanity had been called to be protectors, but they had lost their way. Alya turned to him, her eyes burning with a mixture of determination and something deeper. "What are we going to do?" Lucas didn't hesitate. "We fight, we protect, but we do it together." He stood, his hand never leaving the sword's hilt as the Lumina Blade glowed brighter than ever before, its energy pulsing through his body. He felt it a deep connection to the galaxy, to Alya, to every living being in the universe. This was humanity's true purpose, not to conquer, but to unite, to protect, to love. The ship hurtled toward the tier, the boundaries of space and time warping around them. And as they neared the heart of the void entity's return, Lucas knew that the galaxy was on the edge of something new, something transformative. The Lumina Blade had awakened something in him, something that could not be ignored. But even as the ship surged forward, a new voice echoed in his mind. A voice from the past. A voice that said, "This is just the beginning." End or the beginning? As the ship entered the swirling chaos of the tier, everything went dark. The ending leaves the door open to many possibilities. Lucas and Alya's journey is just beginning. The true scope of the threats they face is still unknown, and the fate of humanity and the galaxy itself hangs in the balance. The void entities may have returned, but with the Lumina Blade in their hands and the unity between Lucas and Alya, they might just be the galaxy's last hope.